book a week, one book a week, one book a week, one book a week, one book a week. My goodness, bro, shut up, man. Like, flip's sake, like this whole one book a week thing, like I don't want to, G. Like, flip's sake, like, oh, if you read one book a week for every week in a year, that's 52 books in 1 year, which means you basically consume 52 lifetimes of knowledge. For flip's sake, man. Like, for a long time, story time. For a long time, I was obsessed about how many books I've read. So I'm like, yo, bro, I gotta get on like the email type of grind set and read one book a week. And bro, this video is essentially about all the books, my beliefs about books, right? So how I view books now compared to how used to view books, and a lot has changed now, which is when I started reading, I was all about the one book a week thing, right? So reading as much as I can, and honestly, I wasn't usually able to finish the book in a week, right? But I was just crazy about one book a week. So much so, I was so crazy about one book a week. I was basically not even learning as much as I should have, right? I wasn't actually absorbing as much as I could have, wasn't reading as effectively and as efficiently, and it was just all about the ego. It was all just about the ego. I was just trying to satisfy my ego, honestly, just by reading one book a week every single week. Like, that type of thing about just like reading the book for the sake of reading the book so that I feel satisfied about reading the book. That's it. Like, that was my whole point. I wasn't actually able to like study and learn from the book and actually implement it in my real life. So, of course, like, just honestly, like, from reading a book to not even reading a book, that's still a huge amount of like progress you've made. So I was still able to learn a lot. Don't get me wrong, I still learned a lot, but I just wasn't able to learn as much as I could have. And maybe this is different, right? Maybe you're able to do one book a week and stuff. That's perfectly fine, whatever it is. But for me personally, that just wasn't the case. And I was trying to read, as fast as possible, not really just trying to gain and learn. Maybe you're different. Maybe you can read one book a week and you're still able to gain as much knowledge as you're able to, right? But for me, it just wasn't the thing. It was so frustrating for me because I would just read the book and I was just like, man, like the book went by so fast in a way, like, and I was just like, I don't feel like I gained much out of the book. And maybe, that's why for me personally, I just feel like I have to read the book again and again. So the whole point of reading a book is that you wanted to solve a problem, right? So, and I was just reading for the sake of reading. I wasn't really trying to fix of course, like, you learn a couple of stuff and everything, but reading the book is just to solve the problem. So, man, I still learned a lot, but there was just a better way I could have gone about it. And this is essentially how I read books now, right? So let's say this is the best way I've implemented the book is, let's say, the 4 Hour Work Week, right? We have like the book by Tim Ferriss, amazing book, but how would I tell you if it's amazing if I've only read one chapter from the book, essentially? So how I read books now, essentially, especially how I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and I've also started reading Think and Grow Rich. So as I read 4 Hour Work Week, right, I looked at the contents page. I have the contents page here, and I was looking at, okay, the end of time management and illusions and Italians. Okay, so I was just looking at this contents page and I was just like, short, like, I need to learn how to manage my time more better. So I was just like, short, like, let me skip everything else, read this chapter, and I solved my problem. I was able to learn how to manage my time far much more better. I gained so much value. Great book. And like, honestly, like, ever since then, I just move around the contents page. Whatever I'm interested in reading, I'm just like, okay, short, like, maybe I want to learn a bit about outsourcing and stuff like that, the low information diet. Okay, short, let me check out that, rules that change the rules and those type of stuff. Like, I just go over, like, I'm not trying to read from the beginning till the end anymore. So legit, look at the contents page of the book that you're reading. Of course, it doesn't work with novels and stuff. It's more like self-help books. Look at the contents page that you're reading. Pick a chapter you're interested in and that you have a problem with, right? So you maybe have the problem with time management that I had, and I was like, okay, sure, let me go to the time management chapter. Go to that chapter, learn and then implement what you learned from that chapter immediately. So immediately after I learned about this time management thing, short, like it taught me two rules: Parkinson's law and Pareto's distribution. I legit wrote like a whole new schedule for my uploading schedule, and I immediately implemented it about like how to make myself more productive during my time immediately. So find a problem that you probably have this problem. You probably have this problem that you're dealing with. Go to the contents page, find the chapter, and then just legit like solve your problem and immediately take action and implement. And this has just been, it's been crazy, like just how great this book has been just from that one chapter that I've learned. So that's amazing. And even Think and Grow Rich, like I would just go to a chapter, I would go to the contents page, I would be like, okay, sure, organized planning. Let me learn more about organized planning. So I just went straight into organized planning and just read about that. And I was just like, sure, like I gained some value from this. It was just really nice because you don't really have to read from beginning to end. So this is how I've been reading Think and Grow Rich as well as 4 Hour Work Week. So, bro, it's been so much more different the way I've been thinking, reading books. So there are three new beliefs that I have about reading books, which has completely made I feel that I don't really follow anymore, which I've. Oh my goodness, man. Man. But yeah, the new beliefs that I have about books, right? So the first belief is that most books aren't even worth your time. So they're only really about like 1%, maybe even less, of total books that are actually worth your time. And you just need to pick a few books and just own in on those books. So that's why my biggest problem with one book a week, it's just like, yeah, it's a lot of books and everything. You are gaining some value, don't get me wrong. But I just feel like there's certain books out there that can get you all those 52 books in a year in just like 12 books. And you just like own in on one book like a month. So you just own in and just like master that book. And I feel like that's even more better, right? You just keep reading. Because like stuff like books like How to Win Friends and Influence People is probably like one of those ultimate sales books, because I'm just like, this book just carries over to everything else. Like these principles are just like next tier level, and I'm just like, you don't really need to read 52 books a year to gain that much value. I feel like much more just like owning in on those top 1% books is just so much more better. So that's why I've sort of forgot about like a book a week grind set. So my second belief that I've learned is you don't need to read a book from start to finish. So legit, quite literally, like is as I've just told you about the 4 Hour Work Week, I just open up to the contents page and just look at a chapter that I'm interested in, especially in the way of the Superior Man as well. Like initially when I first read the book, I just read from beginning to finish. But now I just go to the contents page, look at a chapter I'm interested in, or maybe I even have a problem with, and just go to a chapter, read that chapter, and then you learn something new that you didn't understand before. And I just feel like those type of books where you can just own in, as well as that you don't need to read from start to finish, is just so much more better because you just straight getting to the point and you get to implement faster what you've learned, right? And you're also more just interested about the content when you look at the contents page, and you just directly can focus in on like what you're interested in. So if you go here and you look at the contents page of How to Win Friends and stuff, How to Win Friends and Influence People, you're just like, okay, sure, like I'm really interested about a simple way to make a good first impression. I feel like maybe I don't make a good first impression. Maybe I'm really interested about that. You go there and you already have that interest. So you're just going to learn. It's just times two in your learning, right? Because when you have interest, you're just going to learn far much more better as well. And the third belief that I have that about books is that if you started a book and you don't feel interested in a book, then just drop it. Because I feel like, of course, do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. But interest is really key into learning, right? I feel like if you have interest, then you're just gonna learn far much more quicker. So if you're reading a book right now, let's say I'm reading 4 Hour Work Week, and I'm just like, man, I think I want to start reading How to Influence and Influence People. I'm reading this book. Just drop it. Drop the book and just start reading How to Influence People. There's no problem, because the minute that you feel like you're wasting your time, you probably are. And that's just my three new beliefs about reading books. I just feel like most books aren't even worth your time. There's no really point in reading 52 books in a year. Own in on the really best books. Second belief is just you don't need to read a book from start to finish. And the third is If you start reading a book and you don't feel interested in it and you don't want to continue reading it, then just drop the book and just find another book to read. So thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you guys gained some sort of value and keep improving.